Anywhere on my back. So what I'm doing on this side, I'm doing on this side. So I'm literally rubbing my own back.
Your son sells toothpicks? Actually, he invented them. I love these things. Yeah, they're really cool.
Hello, Jeff here again with Tatmader. Today we're going to be working on a project that I invented over 30 years ago. And I shared this product with Walmart and Target and Sears and Kmart, who were still around at that time. And I sent them samples, and all I got back was the product was too big and they couldn't make enough money based on the real estate value of their shelves. Shortly thereafter, the product started appearing everywhere on their shelves, but not made by me. And they are about 1/3 to 1/2 the size and not very functional. And so I just continued selling to family and friends at that time and then moved on. But today I'm not going to tell you what it was that I made. I'm going to see how fast you can actually figure it out based on the material that I'm going to be using in it. I got 4 pillows. I need 4 pillows for this. I bought some really nice fabric. You know, you can't buy leather very easy nowadays, and so I go to the Goodwills and secondhand shops and I buy leather jackets. I can buy these leather jackets from anywhere from $5 to $20. So I got a red jacket, so I'm repurposing leather. I'm not having any animals killed to make this product. I got some brown leather and I found this beautiful suede skirt. I'm going to be using some 1/4-inch plywood and some white masonite, hot melt glue, and some pop rivets. You have a clue yet what I'm going to make? Let's get to cutting some of our wood right now. At this time, I'm going to be sanding all of the edges. I'm also going to be rounding some of the corners to give it a nice soft feel. At this time, I need to make some big holes inside our sub panel for what we're making. I'm going to put it right in the center. I only have to mark one because when I drill through it, the front drill will actually mark the next board for me. So I need to do this to all 6 panels at this time. All right, so we have our first hole done, and the next board's already marked, and the third board's already marked. Now I need to keep recycling each board so I don't go down through to my table. We have all of our holes drilled through all 6. Have you figured out what we're making yet? At this time, we're going to take our board and our inner board. We have an inner board and we have an outer board. And we are going to be covering it with fabric. Now, I already took one of the pieces of fabric and cut it to size. And what we want is this fabric to be 4.5 inches longer than the board on each side. So I've got it measured at 4.5 inches here, 4.5 inches there, and 4.5 inches there. Now, one of the reasons I went ahead and did the fabric pattern first is I've got some leather jackets and a leather skirt that I also want to use, and I want this pattern to fit where I want on that leather so I can cut it out and not waste anything. So we're going to start with the skirt first. This is a nice suede skirt. I already took the liner out, but we still need to cut the leather in a position where it makes sense. And so I'm going to cut it where they did the seam themselves, where the zipper was. Now, isn't that a beautiful piece of leather? I mean, this is genuine leather. It looks nice. Now, I like how that's going to work out. Make sure all the gathers are out underneath. Centered on any other seams that might be there, so we have a nice consistency. So we have our first pattern. Let's see what we can do with this leather jacket. I don't think this is an Agner. So Agner would definitely have a tag on the inside. The buttons on this thing are really beautiful. I mean, that is really a beautiful button. I cut the buttons off my leather. I save them for other projects. They have resin penny tables. Well, how about a resin button table? For you ladies who like to sew, make yourself a countertop just with thousands of buttons, all deeply immersed into resin. I think that'd be cool. I know what you're thinking. It took me a while to get used to cutting up nice leather jackets. But it is the cheapest way to get leather, because to buy it fresh from a place that tans leather, it's expensive. I think I'm going to keep these little bell hoops in there because I think this product will hang up nicely with those. Now this here, I don't think this is a leather jacket. This is more like a faux leather, but it's really got a nice feel to it. And so I'm fine with using faux leathers as well. All right, so I believe I'm going to have to tape this one on a little bit, put a little tape on it to secure it in areas, and I'll just cut around the pattern with the fabric on it. Which is what, you know, a lot of people use pins. I don't have pins right now, so I'm just going to use a little tape. Just to hold it in place while we're working with it. I'm going to be cutting around the shoulders. So I'm going to start cutting some areas out just so I can get this to lay flatter. I'm going to cut the collar off. I don't have to worry too much about the edges on, how the cut might be, as a clean, nice, straight cut. These edges are all going to be hidden. So I need to cut out the shoulder on this, so it'll lay flat for my pattern. So now it lays much more flat. That one was a little tricky. If you wanted to start making some money off of these are a great product. It's like an aftermarket product. They used to make these by the thousands and sell them all over the world. And then they just simply stopped making them. I think they stopped making them because they weren't making them very well. And their function goes down when you make these really small. Their function goes up when you make them the right size. And so this is a great product that can still be sold online and to family and friends. It's easy to make if you set up a little production process. They don't take a lot of room in your shop, and they can easily be customized. In fact, you can have logos put on them. They can be used for teams or groups or organizations. All right, so I think that'll work. And I like how the seam fits right in the middle of the inner board. Have you figured out what we're making yet? I bet you some of you are pretty close or probably on the target already. So, all right, so how are we going to attach these to there? I'm going to start with a piece of fabric first because the leather might be tricky for me to do right up front. Let me get used to it just a little bit by doing a product that's going to be a little easier. Now I was going to sew these, but I figured out how to do it without sewing it. And the reason that you sew it is to keep the material that we're going to be putting on the inside from coming out. Well, I have figured out how to do it without sewing. So what we're going to do, we're going to take each corner and we're going to hot melt glue it into the corners. And what you want to do is make sure your material is facing the right way. The inside is on the inside and the outside is going to be on the outside. So after your four corners are glued in place, then you want to fold these in right along where those other areas were. So we're going to run a bead of hot melt glue all the way down through here. And we're going to place that right along that glue line. Now, what I want to do is also, I forgot it over there, I can fix that in a minute. But what I want to do is also, I want to run a bead of glue along here, and that will stop the internal stuffing. Okay, so we have our first one mounted. Let's do our suede. So this one here is a little shy on a couple points and a couple areas. But what we'll do is just make sure it's centered and just gather it anyway. All right. Number 3. All right, well, that's number 4. Got us a nice leather backing. At this time, I'm going to be putting some screw blocks inside each corner, so when I mount the top, I will be able to actually screw into the blocks. I'm going to also pop rivet some. When you use leather, the gathering sometimes is pretty hefty and in the corners, and it's not as easy for the pop rivets to work. So I'm going to try both processes today. So right now I'm going to glue the screw blocks into the corners inside the ones that are leather, and the one that is just fabric, I'm going to pop rivet that for you. I'm glad the hole wasn't any smaller. And this really shouldn't affect how the cushioning feels on the inside. This is a process that should have been done before the leather is put on, but it really doesn't hurt to do it this way at this time. Okay, at this time we're going to start stuffing the inside of the pad bag with some of the material that we got out of the pillows that we bought. As I said earlier, the pillows were a lot less expensive than buying the material to make a pillow. The pillow making material is more expensive than buying a pillow, so I just bought the pillow. I think that's enough for that one. So right now, I'm going to use some of the macaroni and other things that I bought in some of these, because what will happen is it will settle down to the bottom of the bag. And if someone has this on their lap and they want to cross their leg, the rice or the beans or the macaroni will adjust to the shape faster than just this here, this matting, this stuffing here. So I'm going to try some of that at this time. And nothing like the modern food storage process. You know, in these times, it might be important to have a little backup food. So if you ever run out of food, you can always take your pad bags and open them up and boil you some beans or some rice or some macaroni. Okay, so the beans weigh quite a bit, so I don't want to use a whole lot, just enough to kind of help level things out when you get it together on the bottom. All right, at this time we're going to apply one of our tops. I don't need to do any more sealing inside there, because this is going to be affixed to it pretty tightly. I'm going to come in 1.25 inches from each side. So 1.25 inches in. Okay, we're back. Trying to fix a few little glitches with my pop rivet gun. Nothing like a little lubrication on an old tool to help make things work right. All right, so there we have it. All right. So this time, I'm gonna put some elbow macaroni in there. Now I think this is gonna be fine because as long as you don't get them wet, you won't have any bean sprouts or anything coming out of your pad bag. So I'm going to put about half that box in there. And start cutting. It's a little tougher to pull apart than cotton candy, but it definitely has the same look. After thinking about this for a little bit, you know, the real leather's nice, but once again, it takes such a big piece, and they have such nice faux leathers nowadays that I actually think it might be better to stay with the faux leather. You can get some nice faux leathers from Joann Fabrics, Walmart, or any of the fabric stores. Okay. All right, at this time, I've already got my corners marked for drilling. I went with a smaller drill bit because now I'm going to be putting some screws in. All right, there we have it. So this time I'm going to try a little bit of lentil beans. Lentils can make you mental. They're actually very good for your brain. You can just listen to Dr. Neil Nedley talk about lentil beans. Of course, he talks about chia and flax and a lot of other good things for you. Alright, that's our fabric one. What I would not do also in the future is just try to gather it all together. The ones I made before we had manufacturing going, and I just tried a few other simple processes. I don't like how the corners are turning out on these, so from now on I would go ahead and do my little sewing across the corner and make a nice little fit through there. The corners, everything will look a lot cleaner. So, live and learn. So let's mount this top. Now, on the back side of this dry erase board is a chalkboard. So we're just going to make this one black at this time. And so if somebody wants to play with some chalk on here, they can do that. But the mounting process is going to be the same. We're just going to pop rivet at this time. So I'm taking a piece of this tile trim, and I'm going to see about go ahead and mounting this up inside there. So I've got to get an accurate marking on it and get it cut. And I will be back in a second. And we're just going to cut this on a carbide saw. It goes through aluminum really easy. So at this time I'm going to use a little silicone glue. I've got the top propped up from the other side. Put a little glue inside there. This, along with the pressure created by the pop rivets, should create a good joint.
Very good.
All right, there you have it. The version with a little pencil holder at the bottom. All black. A lot of people like black colors, or the color black. All right, so now we're going to try a different form of stuffing. So we've tried just a batten type of stuffing with some beans and peas and elbow macaroni. So now we're going to try the carpet padding.